When we factor this, what we're really trying to do is we're really trying to break this apart into two things that if we multiplied them, they would make this. So we're going to take this polynomial, this quadratic trinomial, we're going to break it apart into two things that if I multiply them back together, they make this. Sounds very complicated, it's going to be very easy. We're going to use what's called the X method. What I would like all of you to please do right now is on your paper, you're going to draw a big old X. Don't make it huge, it doesn't need to take up the whole paper. But we're going to draw a nice big X. And each section of this, top, bottom, left, and right, are going to have something in it, some way of organizing our information. At the top, I want you to please write A times C. At the bottom, I would like you to write B. On the left and on the right, please draw a fraction bar, and the denominator should be A. And then we're going to fill all this in. The only thing we do not know and the only thing we have not labeled is the numerator. So that's the thing we're going to actually be looking for in this problem. We're going to put some question marks there for now. That's what we're going to try to find. At the top of the X method, it says A times C. So let's make sure we know what they are. In this problem, A, the coefficient in front of x squared. What is it?
1.
It's a 1. There's nothing there, so it's an invisible 1. B is the coefficient in front of x, in the middle. So 8. And C is the constant at the end. 15. So let's fill it in. At the top, it's A times C. So 1 times 15 is what?
15.
All right. We need B at the bottom. Which number was B? All right, so let's put an 8. We know what A is, so we know what our denominator should be. What's A? It's 1. So we're going to put 1s down here. Now, if I have a denominator of 1, which I'm going to have here, what type of number am I actually making? A whole number. Thank you. That's going to be really important for what we do at the end of this. So here's the way this works. This is essentially a numbers game. And some of you are very, very good at these types of things. It's part of why you're in this class right now. So one of the things to look at, this is a numbers game. We are looking for two numbers. We have two missing numbers. I want you right now, silently and to yourself, do not say it out loud, you have to find two numbers. These two numbers will multiply to make 15, but they will add to make 8. Please keep them to yourself when you find them. They will multiply to make 15. They will add to make 8. This is a simple example, so these numbers should come to you rather quickly. Multiply to make 15, add to make 8. Raise your hand if you know the two numbers I'm talking about. Two numbers that multiply to make 15, but they add to make 8. Raise your hand if you know the numbers I'm talking about. Liam. 3 and 5. And it does not matter what order you put them in. 3 times 5 makes 15. 3 plus 5 makes 8. So, here's what this means for us. Now that we've filled this in, now that we have found our missing numbers, we're going to use these fractions that we've created to write our final answer. I told you before we began that this would be two things multiplied together, and before we even wrote this all down, I said we were going to make binomials. So here's the way it works. Looking at each fraction, the denominator is what goes in front of x. So 1x and then positive 3. So 1x plus 3. In this one, 1x plus 5 because it's a positive 5. So again, 1x plus 3, 1x plus 5. That made my binomials. That is my final answer. If the denominator was not a 1, what if it was a 2? Then it would say 2x plus 3. It would say 2x plus 5 for each of these. Now, what I would like to talk to you about next is how you can check your answer. Because it's very important that you understand how to do this when you get to the test or you get to anything where you're going to be held accountable for this. This is my final answer. That's it. Once you've gotten this, that's the answer. But we need to be able to check and make sure we've done it right. So here's how that works. I'm going to take my answer, x plus 3, x plus 5. This is one of the problems we just did yesterday. Box method, distributive property, FOIL, it doesn't matter what method you use, but if I multiply these together, and let's go ahead and use the box method for this. If I did x and positive 3, x and positive 5, x times x is x squared, 3 times x is 3x, x times 5 is 5x, and 3 times 5 is 15. My like terms are in the diagonal. I have just created x squared, 3x and 5x made 8x, and the 15 at the end. Well, that, when we just multiplied them together, made the exact same thing we started with. That is how we know that we did this correctly. So that is how you can check your work for these problems.